There is history that no one seems to know about, but there are memories about it that run through families, like in mine. During World War II, the Japanese committed horrible atrocities against the Chinese. We live with that memory, and we are concerned that the history books never showed the truth. So I talked to my mom about this. Her parents lived in China during World War II.
My mom was born in the same years when Japan first invaded China, 1937. Every of my parents' family member were affected at that time.
My grandmother and her family were forced to flee her hometown of Canton because they were in danger from the Nanking Massacre. The mass murder and mass rape by Japanese soldiers occurred when they invaded China. There were over 300,000 casualties, yet it is one of the least documented massacres in history. And today's teens know that their families suffered, but these facts don't exist in their school textbooks.
I think it's unfair and unjust for those victims from the World War II in China.
Why?
I think the history, the textbook of history should reveal the truth no matter what, and the past is the past. They should acknowledge the fact.
Distorting history in textbooks is known as historical revisionism. This can greatly impair teenagers' education. Michael Lonnie is a history teacher from Randolph High School. He believes that students using these textbooks will be negatively affected because historical revisionism is not true history.
When those events purposely try, or when the historians or individuals try to purposely distort the facts of the past, or shift the basis of the event in a way that distorts the morals or the morality of the time period, or tries to cover up certain events, then I think that you lose sight of what history actually is.
I asked my sister on how she felt about her lack of representation in history textbooks as a student. It's really important that history is accurate and respectful to all communities, especially to people of color. When you're not taught your own history, it's showing that your history and that your culture isn't worth learning and isn't important to the school or to the people who make the textbooks. But historical revisionism is prevalent all over the world, even in China. Protesters want to make the history in textbooks more accurate and respectful.
With something like history, it needs to come from a groundswell movement. It needs to come from educators who are teaching history, and it needs to come from the understanding that the study of history is a study of history from all perspectives, that you really need to understand that there are several ways of interpreting the past, but all of those different ways need to be based on facts. And as has been a common theme in American history, it remains on the teachers and the learners to be vigilant.
Students should address this with their teachers as soon as those books are put before them, as soon as they are asked to read a chapter, especially if they spot something that does not conform to what their family knows to be true. I hope for history curriculums and history textbooks that in the future they'll include unheard voices. That's what history is, isn't it? It's about telling the truth no matter what, even when you don't hear the truth. And for me, as a teenage Chinese American woman, we need our voices to be heard, and they can be heard through us learning our history and others learning our history. As for the people directly affected by historical revisionism, who have to live with their memories, they can share what they know to ease the burden of the truth, just like my mom did with me.